going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is your review for AEW Dynamite, March 16th, 2022. Happy 316 Day. Not the last time I'm going to say that this evening. Going to start this on a little bit of a down note, because I haven't talked to you guys, I think, since last week, and a lot has happened since the last time I talked to you guys, and they're not things that I'm going to go into at great depth. There are way better people that have done way more sort of deep diving things on the stuff that I'm about to say. Go check out Simon Miller, go check out anybody from What Culture, even Michael Sidgwick. Go check out Good Mic Work, go check out, hell, even Wrestling Jesus has talked about this stuff. First of all, we gotta start off with Big E and the match that he had on SmackDown with Ridge Holland and Sheamus with Butch in their corner. And on a different day, on a much more silly day, I will let you guys know fully what I think of the whole Butch thing, but I'm pretty sure you guys can guess already. But more importantly, the Ridge Holland spot on the outside that dumped Big E right on his big old head there. And I'm not a medical person. I won't pretend to be a medical person, but something about C2, C6 vertebrae in his neck. Speculation as to when or if he's going to come back to wrestling, which is absolutely terrible. Of course, the guy is all over social media making sure the fans are okay and not worried about him rather than worrying about himself. So, you know, what can I say? There's nothing 4 or 5 days later that I'm going to say that everybody else hasn't already said, other than, you know, hope he gets better. If he's able to come back into the ring, cool. If he's not able to get back in the ring, that's going to kind of suck for us, but more important that he can, you know, do whatever needs to be done with his life. And it just sucks in general. And I can't imagine feeling your neck break and instantly thinking what that's going to entail for the rest of your life, and doing it on national TV, and doing it in front of an arena full of people. The other thing goes to Ridge Holland, and, you know, reports have said that, you know, there's no heat on Ridge Holland in the back because it is wrestling, it's not ballet, and this is the not sarcastic, not smartass downside of the it's not ballet situation. But apparently the locker room has sort of rallied around him to make sure he's okay, being the one that was on the other side of the incident. That's cool to hear. I mean, I don't really have any particular interest in seeing Ridge Holland on my screen. I didn't in NXT and I don't now. But I mean, nobody deserves to carry that shit, right? I mean, it's not like he's Sasha Banks or something. But in all seriousness, I want to send like not that he's ever going to see this, but like, you know, all the best fond well wishes to Big E and whatever the next section of his life is. Hopefully that's wrestling, but if it's not, then it is what it is. And then we get through the weekend, and then we start seeing posts from Kevin Nash about the whole Scott Hall situation and how he's on life support and his family's decided to take him off life support and all this and all that. And you know, you start getting you get explanations and headlines of what's happened. And he had hip surgery, and then he had a blood clot, and then he had multiple heart attacks, which sounds horrendous, and got taken off life support, and literally he passed. It was confirmed right before Raw. And that sucks. And a lot of people have said it, and I'll say it as well. Like, the guy went through a really rough patch in his life that could have taken his life, and the really, really sad irony that he got himself back up onto his feet and got sort of stuff back together, and something as simple as having a hip issue is what took him out. And not to make it light, but to use the verbiage that a lot of other people have used over the past week or so, he just wasn't able to kick out. And it's terrible. I mean, Simon Miller put it best, and it's Scott Hall / Razor Ramon is just, you know, he might not have always been in the forefront of everybody's mind all the time, but Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, is a guy in wrestling that was just always there. Like, he always existed. if that makes any sense at all. Not to take anything away from, one of the best Intercontinental Champions of all time, the first ladder match at WrestleMania 10 with Shawn Michaels. Obviously his part in the NWO, the big takeover, we're going to war, WWF, WCW, and all the... and just as everybody from Hulk Hogan to Kevin Nash to Sean Waltman, Triple H, Shawn Michaels has all said the guy was just effortlessly cool. And, it's not sad because he was such a cool guy, but it is kind of sad because he was such a cool guy. You see the outpouring of what happened on social media and all that kind of thing. And again, it's like the Big E thing in a very different way. There's nothing I'm going to say at this point that's gonna make it any better. There's nothing that I can say that hasn't already been said. I'm going to say it one more time. Go listen to the Simon Miller podcast that dropped yesterday. Go check out the video that he did for What Culture talking about it. Go watch the news videos that Adam Wilborn and Andy Murray did. Go, as I say, I know Greg... Good Mic Work did a whole live stream about him instead of doing his typical Raw review. Even Wrestling Jesus came up and had a bit to say. There's nothing I can say that those guys haven't already said, or various other people haven't already said. I haven't seen Joe Cronin show in quite a while, but I'm sure he talked about it on his show as well. And it just sucks. Like there's only so many ways that you can say this just sucks, and we're not living in the shoes of his wife, kids, family, loved ones, his wrestling family, and all that. So for us to stand back and say, well, this sucks for us, feels a bit selfish, but it does suck. Like, because we're all... I don't want to get super cheesy with this, and this is not where I wanted the pod to start, but, like, we're all human beings. And there's that side of it where a human being hears another human being died, and it's like, oh, that's really sad. But also, here's this person that, beamed through our TV screens on a weekly or twice a weekly or 3 times a weekly basis for a long fucking time. I don't know. Absolutely terrible. Anybody within the sound of my voice more directly affected by the passing of Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, I can only say, again, like I said with the Big E thing, like my thoughts are with you, and I hope that brings you some kind of comfort, because that's all I got. In other news, Charmel's going into the Hall of Fame. People are freaking out about that, and I don't exactly disagree. Hall of Fame looked good, starting off with Taker and including Vader, but, it is what it is. Cody Rhodes didn't show up on Raw because him leaving AEW is a work after all. But you know who else didn't show up on Raw? Veer. Somebody help Veer on Raw. I'm just rambling off what's going on this week. Now Edge has new theme music to go along with this weird new edgy, pun intended, feud he's got going on with AJ Styles. Dolph Ziggler is still your NXT champion, and I'm not gonna lie, NXT isn't NXT anymore, and TakeOver definitely isn't TakeOver anymore, but NXT Stand and Deliver for WrestleMania weekend doesn't look terrible? Question mark? I mean, we're gonna get 4 pay-per-views in one weekend that weekend, because there's Stand and Deliver, there's 2 nights of WrestleMania, and there's also, if I haven't mentioned it before, Impact Wrestling is putting on a show called Multiverse of Matches, which also seems pretty cool. It's going to be the Good Brothers taking on the Briscoes I've never seen before. There's going to be Eddie Edwards versus Tomohiro Ishii, who I've never seen before, so that'll be cool for me as well. There'll be Chris Sabin versus Jay White, which is kind of a continuation of Alex Shelley versus Jay White, which is a kind of, you guys are listening to this Thursday morning. Tonight on Impact, we're going to be seeing the Bullet Club versus the Motor City Machine Guns. So, Multiverse of Matches on Friday night before we get into full WrestleMania mode that week is looking pretty goddamn stacked. If you look at how Stand and Deliver is coming together, it's not gonna knock your socks off, but it does look like it's gonna be a fun show. And then WrestleMania is what it is. Charlotte and Ronda Rousey are main eventing night 1, as they should. Brock and Roman are main eventing night 2, as they should. Seth Rollins has nothing to do at WrestleMania because Cody Rhodes quitting AEW is a work. Owens is gonna do the Austin thing. We've got Johnny Knoxville and Logan Paul on the show Rey Mysterio and Dominic showed up on NXT, and that was fun. There's just... I hate to say it because there's no one thing that's grabbing the headlines completely, but looking at wrestling as a whole, there's a lot of stuff happening, and I think it's kind of cool. And I'm kind of biased. The weekend, I should say, before WrestleMania weekend, I'm going to both Destiny's show Haywire and the Road to WrestleMania show in Toronto that I was supposed to be going to back in December, but it got postponed. Thank you, lockdowns. Thank you, Ontario. I'll throw it in here just because I haven't done it in a while. If you're listening to me on an audio platform, you want to find me on YouTube, search Spaz Phoenix. If you want to find me somewhere else, look on Rumble, Spaz Phoenix Podcast. Look on any actual podcasting platforms, search Spaz Phoenix Podcast. Find me on Twitter at Spaz Phoenix and at Spaz Phoenix 1 if I don't get myself canceled on there. Again, find me on Instagram at Spaz Phoenix. Find me on find me on the Facebook. Find me on Facebook, the Spaz Phoenix Podcast Facebook group. And if you are watching me, or listening to me, I should say, on YouTube, please throw a comment down in the box below and give it a share if you like what you hear. I've shilled myself quite enough. I've given you a very, very, very quick wrap-up of everything that's happened in wrestling since the last time we spoke. So let's talk about tonight. Tonight, I will say right off the bat, is just going to be a whole bunch of, well, this happened, and it was really cool. That's all I got. There wasn't any fat on the bone on tonight's show, and I really, really like that. We started off with Cole Fish and O'Reilly, the former Undisputed Era, taking on Hangman Adam Page, our current champion, who's about to face Cole eminently, and the current tag team champions in Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. There's a cool dichotomy about this with the six-man, because the tag teams just did fight and the main singles guys in the match are about to fight, so there's a cool thing. It gave the commentary a lot of time to talk about both, which is nice. Every time I see Kyle O'Reilly tag into the match and be as intense as he wasn't able to be in NXT, yes, I said it, I want a feud between O'Reilly and Danielson, and I want him to face the Danielson we have now in this new group that they're starting with William Regal, which we're going to talk about in a second. It was a great pace. There was a lot of flying by Page, and I know that Page can fly. This is the thing. This is the cool thing about Page. He presents himself as a brawler, or at least not somebody that you would see flying through the air, which makes every time he does fly through the air look awesome, especially when they did the triple moonsault, all of them jumping off the same turnbuckle. Two of them went out to the outside, and Jungle Boy, I think, landed on Bobby Fish, because if somebody's going to lose on that team, it's probably going to be Bobby Fish. Huge pop from the crowd, obviously, when Adam and Adam square off, and Cole pins Jungle Boy after hitting the boom. Everything and nothing here. There's 6 great guys in the ring. They're going to have a great match. While it's very by the numbers and very not what was supposed to steal the focus tonight, this did a really, really good job of kicking off the show. This is, and AEW gets a lot of credit for this, and I agree. They are very good at picking what goes on first. Now, the opposite end of that is sometimes they start off the show so strong that it's a downward slope after that, and they need to avoid that. They didn't do that tonight. But they're very good at picking the first match, and for a while there, the opening slot was the Bucks slot. And like I used to say back in the day with WWE, the Hardy Boys never really got to the main event as fast as they should have, because they needed the Hardy Boys to whip up the crowd in the first match of the night. So I think there's a nice little dichotomy there, and it's a nice chance for these 6 other guys to show, yeah, hey, we can do that too, because the Bucks are seen in a backstage segment later, and that's about it. Speaking of tag team matches with, let's be real, predictable results. We got Danielson and Mox taking on the Best Friends, this time being represented by Yuta and Chuck. Orange Cassidy's still in a sling because he got chucked halfway around the sun at the pay-per-view. William Regal is on commentary, and I love hearing William Regal talk. I couldn't even tell you a thing he said on commentary, but everything he said sounds like, I'm devious, I'm violent, I'm really dangerous, and you're gonna love me anyway, because I'm talking very proper about how I'm going to eviscerate you, which is really good. Brian jumps the baby faces from the start to set the dynamic off right away. I love the dynamic between Danielson and Mox, because it's not the typical, it is sort of a odd couple team, but it's not the odd couple team in the sense of like a babyface and a heel teaming up. It's a heel and a tweener anti-hero that's just as dangerous as a heel. They used the heart attack at one point, which I'm always, that doesn't hurt my feelings at all. No X-Plex from Mox. That's a bit of a bummer, but he did choke out with the Bulldog choke for the win. One of the things I think they're fleshing out in this tag team, especially being mentored by William Regal, is how many different ways both of these guys can steal the win from you. And as the best friends are leaving, Wheeler Yuta actually thinks, looks like he's thinking about what Danielson and Mox were talking about a couple weeks ago, how, here's a guy that could be great, and he's hanging out with all these jokers like Danhausen and Orange Cassidy and the best friends and all that sort of thing. He comes back into the ring and he sort of goes face to face with William Regal, offers him a handshake, and William Regal slaps him in the face. I didn't hear what was said off mic because I was also, quick shout out to Good Mic Work, I was also listening to the Good Mic Work Dynamite watch along, which is also a lot of fun. So if you're watching Dynamite and you want some additional content while you're watching Dynamite, go check out the Good Mic Work watch along live stream thing that he does, because it's a lot of fun, and you'll hear my annoying super chats and my thoughts on things. But from what I can tell, he squared up to William Regal, tried to shake his hand, maybe switching sides and joining this little serious wrestling faction, and he gets slapped in the face, and they basically tell him, come back next time, or something to that effect. Kind of cool. I would really love to see this tag team of Danielson and Mox get a bit of a run, maybe towards the tag team titles, before they start just adding people and making it a faction instead of a tag team. But if they're going to throw in Wheeler Yuta and somebody else we're going to talk about later on, I guess, that's not exactly going to hurt my feelings either. The best friends always seem sort of like this amorphous, like somebody joins, somebody leaves, somebody joins, somebody leaves type of thing. So if Yuta jumps ship and does some serious stuff with these guys, William Regal, Jon Moxley, and Bryan Danielson are not three bad people to team up with, are they? In the back, there's a little bit of an altercation between FTR and the Bucks. FTR are being interviewed about firing Tully. Last week, they fired him because he lost his focus, which is strange. Bucks basically come in and pick on them, you guys are really great for the second best team in the company or whatever. And one of them, at some point in the thing, because I kind of got lost in it a little bit, said, you guys will never be the best there ever will be, or something like that, which does lend some credence to the rumors that the new manager of FTR could be Bret Hart. But also news coming out earlier this week hinted at the fact that FTR might not actually stay in AEW when their contract runs out. So would they take the time and effort, and let's be real, the money, to bring in somebody like Bret Hart to play a manager role for these guys if they're going to turn around and leave the company? I don't know. Obviously I'm a big fan of Bret Hart. I was always a bigger fan of Shawn Michaels, but that just makes me a really bad Canadian. And I like FTR. I like them when they were the Revival in NXT. They actually managed to make some main roster WWE stuff not too bad until it got to the Uzi Hot and shaving each other's backs. But I don't know how Bret Hart fits. They're old school wrestlers, they're old school technical wrestlers, and so is Bret Hart, but there's something about it that doesn't work in my head. And when I see it on my TV screen, maybe I'll love it. Who knows? But for right now, there's something a tad off about it. And I'm not saying that to insult anybody. And you know what else doesn't hurt my feelings? Is this is the only time we saw the Bucks tonight, which is absolutely great. Jericho comes out with the Jericho Appreciation Society. And first and foremost, I want to send a shout out to whoever it was on Twitter that said, if they had called this group the Jericho Undisputed Demo God Appreciation Society, they could have literally named this group Judas, which would have been cool. And I'm sure Jericho will play around with that on Twitter and in the coming times as we go. 2.0 hype up Jericho immediately, and all I can pay attention to is there's a big bold sign right behind them that says Jericho did nothing wrong. It's not quite as good as last week seeing the Free Kane sign in the crowd, but it is what it is. Talks about how long the earth has existed, and you guys all here tonight have the good fortune of being alive during my time and I can speak, I swear. Without Jericho, there is no AEW. I can't read my own writing. That's fucking terrible. You have the best total athlete right here, right in front of you right now, and you don't even respect me. Neither did Santana Ortiz and their little buddy Eddie Kingston. Something about little buddy Eddie Kingston popped me rotten. The AEW roster is full of people that are just pro wrestlers, and I'm a sports entertainer. He puts over Daniel Garcia, Red Death Daniel Garcia, as he was known when I first saw him in Destiny. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. Talks about 2.0, talks specifically about Big Magic, who I also saw in Destiny before Everrise went to NXT, before they became 2.0 and came to AEW. Big Magic Mike was a guy that I saw in Destiny as well, and it's really, really cool to see all this coming together. Renames them, says they're not going to be Jeff Parker and Matt Lee or whatever they were. He's going to call them by their real names, because that's what we do here, which is hysterical. Because the guy named Chris Jericho is the guy saying we don't need fake names. Is that so, Mr. Irving? And then he talks about how a while ago Daniel Garcia fucked up 2 or 3 bones in his leg, and Jericho went back and supported him, and now look at what a great guy he is, and how he talks about 2.0 getting fired from their previous job and their friend Kevin getting him on the Talk Is Jericho podcast so that they could come over to AEW. And he turns to Hager, who's already been in the previous group with him, so I didn't think he was going to pet Hager over all over again, but he gave him the microphone, and Hager just says, we are the Jericho Appreciation Society, and we beat up pro wrestlers. This is the era of sports entertainment, and that's entertainment. Was a little redundant. That last line there was from the Department of Redundancy department, but that's just, it is what it is. We get a video package on Serena Deeb versus Hikaru Shida, and I'm sorry, I know they're trying to make Serena Deeb like a regular everyday thing on especially on Rampage, but on Dynamite as well. I don't care about this as much as I used to. And maybe it's just because they've gone too many times, or maybe it's because Shida was gone for a while and Deeb just started doing her own thing. They're going to fight again, and they're going to act like they're picking up right where they left off, and I don't think that's going to... And it's not because either one of them are bad. I like Hikaru Shida. Serena Deeb carries a lot of respect, not only in this locker room, but most locker rooms. I wish either one of them or both of them were doing things that I care about so I could cheer for them appropriately, is the nicest way that I can put that. Wardlow versus Scorpio Sky for the TNT title, and going into this match, what were we all thinking? How is MJF going to fuck this up? Well, first of all, Scorpio Sky comes out, and because he's been on social media saying, why did Sammy Guevara carry around 2 belts? It's a bit ridiculous. So he presented the second title belt to Dan Lambert so he could put it in the American Top Team trophy case. Instead of putting it in the American Top Team trophy case, Dan Lambert wore it down to ringside over his tracksuit, which is fine. They started the match off with the try and drop, which basically is my really lame name for when you've got a really cocky technical wrestler that thinks they can take down a big guy, so the big guy lets them try something, and then basically drops them out of midair, and then Wardlow owns in the early going until he's distracted by Paige Van Zandt and her hubby making out on the outside, and we go to commercial break. We come back. That distraction must have done something, because Sky gets a little bit of a run of offense, I should say. Wardlow breaks out of that little run of offense with a one-arm spine buster. He goes to start the Powerbomb Symphony. He pauses between every powerbomb, so you know something is going to happen. And then then there is a distraction by Lambert on the outside. Spears comes down with 2 chairs, distracting Wardlow. MJF jumps him from behind. He eats a ring post shot, and quite frankly, a really, really awkward, most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. Trademark Simon Miller, gets the win for Scorpio Sky. Post-match, the American Top Team and Spears and MJF all beat up Wardlow. MJF then proceeds to pay off American Top Team and knock out Wardlow with the ring. So, now, they're doing a really cool thing here, because they're not just going to do the typical wrestling thing of, oh, Wardlow's a babyface now, so all the babyfaces are going to come in and help him. No, he's basically got no friends, because in his time with MJF, he pissed everybody off. So in his time with MJF is the only time that we've seen him. Why would anybody come out to help him? And MJF knows that. I mean, MJF's going to die sooner or later. Shawn Spears is going to be sort of the lamb led to slaughter before we get to Wardlow versus MJF. Scorpio Sky, in what he had to do tonight, because this was a championship match that had nothing to do with the champion, but he was good in the match. It was a very, very much a technical wrestler versus power game kind of thing, and both of them are really good at that. But I think he's going to be written into the background because this was one further step in the MJF Wardlow thing. I don't know who he goes after next. I don't... maybe Andrade? I'd love to see Scorpio Sky, Jeff Hardy. I'd love to see Sammy Guevara get a rematch. I'd love to see a lot of things with that championship. But for right now, it being on Scorpio Sky, and we've almost got rid of the second belt. It's just around Dan Lambert's tracksuit fucking torso there. It is what it is. Scorpio Sky being the champion for now works. The guy is awesome. The guy is not nearly used enough. I mean, I know they put him in a tag team with Ethan Page, but I think it sort of immediately put a halt to anything he was going to do in a singles capacity until they put the TNT Championship on him. Nobody thought Scorpio Sky was going to win the... what was it called? I can't remember what it was called now, but whatever it was that got him the title shot against Sammy Guevara before Wardlow. I gotta think part of this as well was them not wanting Sammy Guevara to be the afterthought champion guy while this MJF stuff was going on. He'll get that title back eventually, or he'll move up. I think it's kind of cool that in the breakup of Inner Circle, they've kept Sammy Guevara away from Jericho's side and from Kingston's side, because he's going to very much go do his own thing. He's fucking shagging Tay Conti, so that's fine, but Tay Conti right now has Paige Van Zant's signature on her ass. So, a little bit of something for everybody. I don't know. It's tired in here. Hardys versus Private Party. And I can't tell you most of what happened in this match, because this just kicked me right in the nostalgia nuts. Hardy comes out in the face paint. They're both out there in the old Hardy Boys gear, and they're doing all the old Hardy Boys mannerisms, except for Matt Hardy still doing the delete thing. The music is gonna do it for me for a while, and they play all the hits. They do, the Whisper in the Wind, the Poetry in Motion. The Jeff Hardy does that double boot drop, and then the inverted sort of crab pin things that he does. They do the Brother Nero chants. He doesn't do Brother Nero stuff, but Matt Hardy's doing the delete thing. So Matt Hardy doing the delete thing gets the crowd chanting for Brother Nero, which is, I don't know what that is, actually. Private Party finally turned the match a bit in their favor after they crotch Matt Hardy on the ring post and take a moment to scream into the camera, "Hey Rebby, no more kids for you," which is fine. Tandem Twist of Fate and a Swanton Bomb get the win for the Hardys. Obviously, the Andrade family office comes out. You've got Andrade, the Butcher, the Blade, Bunny, and Private Party surrounding the ring. Darby and Sting come out with skateboard and bat in hand and chase the heels away. And now here's the thing. Here's the thing, and here's the thing. Now, there's no more Hardy family office, because now it's the Andrade family office, which means you're going to get the Hardys, Sting, and Darby Allin taking on the Butcher, the Blade, and Private Party at some point in some mad 4-on-4 match, which is great, but at some point they got to put Andrade back in the ring, because and I don't want to say this too sarcastically or too ironically, because you guys know I'm enjoying AEW at the moment, but when the narrative was really, really obnoxious, and I really should be careful how I use the word narrative. I should maybe control my narrative, but wasn't Andrade at the top of the list for who AEW was going to save? What's he done? They put him with Chavo, and now Chavo's not happy with life. They put him with Vicky Guerrero, and Vicky Guerrero would rather manage Nyla Rose. They had him for a while trying to buy Darby Allin, because, yeah, why not put human trafficking on your wrestling show, but put him in something. I thought they were at least going to have a match between Andrade and Matt Hardy, but it seems that they're going to go, obviously, the tag team route and do Hardy Boys stuff. It's all good. It's just, I'd like to see Andrade wrestle. I'd like to see Andrade, I don't care, for no reason at all, have him start up a feud all over again with the with the House of Black. Get the 3 members of the House of Black versus Andrade the Butcher and the Blade. You make somebody like What Culture's Andy Murray very happy, I'm sure, in that one. Pun intended. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker in the steel cage match for the Women's Championship. Rematch from the pay-per-view. 1 year on from... I didn't even mention that this was St. Patrick's Day Slam edition of Dynamite. But St. Patrick's Day Slam last year was their Lights Out match, which... I know Thunder Rosa has a hell of a career, and Britt Baker is awesome as well, so I don't want to say this in a negative way, but as far as, like, AEW canon, that Lights Out match put Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker on the map and set the flag for what would eventually be Britt Baker's awesome title run that she's had. So it's a year since the Lights Out match. It's their rematch from the most recent pay-per-view, and it's in a steel cage, and it's in Thunder Rosa's hometown. So how do you think this all went? Now let's talk about a couple of things. Thunder Rosa, who usually has, I think it's called a sugar skull. Somebody tell me down in the box below, that face paint that she does on half of her face. She had her whole face painted. I don't know what the significance of that is. And she got a cool mariachi band for her entrance. They, in the process of the entrance, they show some quick replay clips of that match from last year, the Lights Out match. Britt Baker comes out and she's got the new belt. I don't know if I mentioned the new belt before, but I really like the new belt. It's completely different from the men's title, which is good. It looks more old school than the men's title. It doesn't look like it. It does not look like it. Stylistically, it is not the same. But for some reason, it reminds me of the WCW Big Gold Belt. I couldn't tell you why, because stylistically, like I say, it doesn't look like it. I'm not saying they are similar in appearance, but the feel of it makes me think of that. And I don't think I've gotten a chance to mention that. I don't think she was on... Was she on last week? I don't know if she was on last week. There's some gear stuff going on. Britt's gear is obviously a tribute to Scott Hall, which is very, very nice. Thunder Rosa's gear has the 316 on it for Steve Austin, and obviously the fact that it's 316 Day. So very, very cool. I saw a bunch of GIFs immediately on Twitter when this match started of that supercell that Scott Hall did of the Stunner at WrestleMania? Question mark? Might have been WrestleMania, and if it was WrestleMania, I should remember because I was fucking there. Anyways... We get me losing my place in my notes. Once again, they have a pretty standard match to start off with. Oh, the ring, I should say as well. The cage was not... I don't remember how many cage matches we've had, but the cage match that they had, say, with Cody Rhodes and Wardlow was a steel cage that sort of hugged the ring. This was not. This was more akin to a miniature Hell in the Cell, because there was definitely a gap around the ring rather than it being tight to the ring. I mean, obviously, to get the plunder from under the ring, it served a purpose. But I thought, if this is going to be their cage going forward, I actually really liked it. Pretty standard match to begin with until Britt's the first one to bleed, which as soon as she is revealed to be the first one bleeding, we get the typical cheese grater moment against the cage by Thunder Rosa. This is when I start noticing the gap outside. We make the Hell in the Cell comparison, which I've already done, which is fine. We get lots and lots and lots of chairs thrown into the ring during the commercial break. I don't know. I know you guys get picture-in-picture in the States. It's about 50-50 whether I get picture-picture where I'm watching it. It depends whether I'm watching on a stream. It depends whether I'm able to watch it here on TSN. But it is a crapshoot whether I actually get the picture-in-picture stuff or not. But when I get back from the commercial break, there are lots of chairs in the ring, and it immediately makes you go back a year ago to St. Patrick's Day Slam last year. Rosa hits a stunner at some point. Britt Baker accidentally super kicks the ref. There's an avalanche air raid crash on the pile of chairs by Britt Baker, I believe. Aubrey Edwards comes to unlock the cage so that she can get in. I really thought they were going to do some fuckery when Aubrey Edwards had to enter the ring, because why else would they have a ref bump and a ref replacement if they weren't going to open the door for some reason, maybe brawl around the outside before she has to get them back inside, etc. It was really weird too, because the ref sort of no-sold the super kick, and then afterwards kind of fumbled his way out of the ring, which is fun. Aubrey got in Britt Baker's face because they have history, and that's that's a bit of good storytelling right there. Aubrey Edwards, just put Aubrey Edwards in a match eventually. They did this thing, holy Christ. I'm gonna suck at describing this. They put where they stand up the chairs and they put them face to face, but then they put more flat chairs on top of that, and they put more stand-up chairs on top of that. Basically, they made an upward pyramid of chairs, and they fought on the top rope, and I thought, okay, are they going to try and do something ridiculous? Are they going to... Somebody in the chat, I think somebody in the chat on Greg's stream actually said, are they going to try and do a Spanish fly from that position? I'm like, yeah, they're going to do a Spanish fly from that position if somebody wants to die. But Britt Baker died enough. She took a flat back bump. She took a dead fall from the top onto the pyramid of chairs. And the pyramid of chairs doesn't sell, boys and girls. It stays still. She does not. She sort of melts down to the ring. And then they get out the thumbtacks. There's a thumbtack backdrop by Britt Baker. Rosa bites the fingers as she tries to go for the, what do you call it? The fucking mandible claw thing that she does. She tries to switch over when Thunder Rosa bites her fingers and tries to do it from the other side, and Thunder Rosa slams her hand into the tacks that are already on the ground, which is wonderful. And then there's a really, really ugly powerbomb into the tacks by Thunder Rosa. Fire Thunder Driver onto the tacks, and Rosa gets the win. And call me a sap, I really don't care. The elation, the emotion, the release that it looked like Thunder Rosa had when the 3 count went down, and she won the championship. It was all over her face. She got to stand up with that championship. She just sort of sat in the ring and soaked it all in. It was nice to see Dustin Rhodes out there giving her a hug, showing her some love. They did the full wide pan of the whole arena with the confetti coming down, and a huge, huge moment for Thunder Rosa. This is a pretty massive match and a pretty massive title loss. This will not do a thing to Britt Baker. This will not do a thing to Britt Baker. She will be a champion again. She will get in several feuds. I'm sure her little faction is going to fall apart, and she's going to feud with Hayter or with Rebel or with both of them. But this was fucking fantastic, and the point's already been made online, but I'm going to make it again here. If Rosa was going to get the win, yeah, put her in the main event on Dynamite rather than the middle of a very, very, very stacked card at Revolution. I think this is a good move on their part. Obviously, they were able to fit it into a hometown story. They were able to fit it into it's 1 year since the Lights Out match story. Everything about this made sense. Like, not very often. Like, I hate to make the comparison, but almost never would you say, I'd rather win the title on Raw than at SummerSlam. But this is kind of the equivalent here. I mean, we don't know what pay-per-view for AEW is supposed to take the SummerSlam equivalent on their calendar, but Revolution was pretty stacked. If she had won on the night, it would have been a very cool match on a night of very cool matches. Everything else on this show that I really liked, everything that served a purpose, everything that made sense, everything that went exactly where it was supposed to go, everything that got me excited for what was coming next, everything was a little bit, and I do not say this in a bad way, please let me be clear, everything else on this show was a little bit understated. Just a little bit. So that this could pop. And ladies and gentlemen, this absolutely popped. I loved this show. There is so much wrestling coming up for me to look forward to. There's so much I'm actually going to go to shit again because the world is actually open again, type of thing. But don't let the future get in the way of the present. And the present is that tonight was a really, really good show. I don't know how to end the podcast other than congratulations, Thunder Rosa. Jericho thing is fucking great. The Hardy Boys are a team again in AEW. I'm going to tap into the cliche. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a really good time to be a wrestling fan. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.